you had to learn how to market yourself.
Yeah.
How did that go? What are some of the lessons that you learned?
Have a pre-launch marketing plan. I did not for my first book.
Yeah,
The first time I don't know, I guess the reason I didn't even really market it was because I was afraid that it wasn't really going to happen. You have
yeah,
that little fear.
sure.
So I didn't I just kept it close to my heart and I didn't put it out there until I was sure.
Good evening, and welcome to Art After Dark, where you get to learn all about arts and culture in West Texas, and I get to live out my Dick Cavett fantasy. I'm Randy Ham, Executive Director for Odessa Arts, and tonight I'm so excited to welcome to the show Rosie Talley, children's author of Linus the Troll. Rosie,
That's
thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the invite.
Well, I've been a big fan for a long time. I know it was quite the journey to get
Mm,
Linus out into the world,
Yeah.
and I've just been so very proud of you for doing this and getting out there. And the response that the community has had for your book has been just really overwhelming. Have you been able to kind of appreciate, how well received the book is?
Oh, yes. Yes. Well, thank you for saying you're proud. That's
Yeah.
so kind, very touching. Yeah, I really thought, I would just maybe publish it, maybe friends and family might know about it, but I have been so blessed with the response I have received from the community. I'm very thankful for that.
Well, let's start with that. What made you talk about how you started the journey to write Linus the Troll?
So that was really, it's been a lifelong dream ever since I was a little girl. I wanted to be a storyteller. I kind of was a storyteller. But of course I grew up and I just didn't really think it was a feasible career option. You hear you got to do something sensible.
Right, yes.
So I did that. I went into insurance sales and then I had my daughter and I was a stay-at-home mom, had some time on my hands, and I just started thinking about what kind of legacy do I want? What do I want my child to be proud of? And also, I wanted her to follow her own dreams. I don't want her to be afraid to do that. So that was really the catalyst for me to finally go for it. And one night I was reading her The Three Billy Goats Gruff, and she was 4 months old. I was feeling sorry for the troll. So that was the origin of Linus.
Wow. So you took an established uh, story for children and looked at the antagonist of that and thought, he needs some rehabilitation.
Yeah, he needs a little love.
Yeah. How long ago was that?
So, it's been almost 4 years now. Uh, it's actually been like just a little over 3 years, but closer to 4.
So you're reading the story,
Mhm,
you look at the troll, and you're like, "Man, he needs a better story."
mhm.
So, did you start by outlining the book, or did you just put pen to paper and start like once upon a time and just right to the end?
I wrote to the end. It actually once the idea comes, it's, like, pretty fast,
Hmm.
for me, and so I just wrote it down, and then, that's when I started looking for an illustrator. I did a storyboard, but I'm not an artist. I wish I were. Like,
Yeah.
oh, man. I would love to have some artistic ability. But, I did a storyboard that was, a lot of stick figures, a lot of caveman drawings, and then, that was what I sent off to my illustrator once I found her.
What was that process like looking for the illustrator?
So what I did personally, I went onto Indiegogo, which is a
Yeah.
site for crowdfunding, and I just searched for indie published books. And usually, by the time that an author gets to the point where they're trying to fund their book project, they already have an illustrator. So I just compiled a list of my favorite styles, and then I started conducting interviews, um, and then that was how I connected with Anna.
Oh, wow. So it really was kind of an audition
Yes,
process.
it was.
And what was the working relationship like with Anna? Did you hand her a complete manuscript, or did her illustrations inform some of the text?
So for me personally, I handed her the complete manuscript because I knew what I wanted Linus to look like in my head. I can't get it from here to paper.
Right.
So
Same here. I'm the same way.
so for me, I sent her a pretty detailed description of what I wanted Linus to do, and luckily she's very talented, so she was able to get it from here to there. But
Well, that's
she's
good.
amazing. She's actually from Romania, so that's been an interesting aspect of the process, but, so I don't actually communicate with her. She works with a studio of illustrators, and so there's a office manager that I go back and forth with.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you wrote the manuscript,
Mm,
you found your illustrator, and then it's time to publish.
yeah.
What was that? What was the actual publishing piece? I'm a book nerd. I mean, you
Mm,
know that. I was a
yeah.
librarian, and all of this minutia of getting from the idea that's in your head to the finished product fascinates me.
Hmm.
And people don't understand how much work it takes to get a book published.
Oh, yeah.
Writing it, which is actually, for most people, the hardest part, is only one teeny tiny step.
Yeah.
So now you've got it. Let's go get it published.
Mhm.
What was that like?
So for me, I knew I wanted to self-publish. I didn't really wanna mess with the traditional route. So the next step was just to get it printed. Well, I was lucky in the aspect that my illustrator does format the book and
Oh,
get it
good.
ready for
Yeah.
print files, and, she also did the cover design. Not all illustrators do. So if you have an illustrator that isn't going to format it, you do have to find maybe a formatter, maybe a book designer. You might have to have both. Um, so I lucked out in that aspect. And so she sent me the print files, and then from there it was just finding a printer. And I use a Lakeside Press. They're out of Minnesota. They've been so wonderful. They have excellent customer service.
Yeah.
So I definitely recommend them for anybody who wants to do that.
That's really good. You said that you knew that you wanted to self-publish, that there
hmm
wasn't any hesitation. What was it that made you want to do that as opposed to going to the traditional route?
I guess it's just I know that I could take care of it myself, and I like to be able to have my hand in all aspects of it, I guess, and,
Well, and you do. You have more control
mhm,
over your story.
yeah.
You know, was there an editor involved in the process at all?
Not for my first 2 books, but I am going to seek out an editor for, future books.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got your manuscript, you've got your illustrator, you've got it printed, and the day comes where you get to see your book
Mhm.
uh, in your hand
Mhm.
for the first time.
Yes.
What was that
Tears
like?
of joy, like, "Is this real?"
Yeah,
Yeah. Just overwhelming happiness.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get to take it out into the world.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, uh, do you remember your first book signing?
Yes, I do. It was, at Anthus in Midland, which, was a boutique at the time, and, it was just the ladies from my book club, so thank you, Modessa Book
Yeah.
Club ladies. You're so supportive, and it was just pretty much them. I did open it, but at that time, I didn't really know how to market myself as I do now, so
Well, I mean, that's how you learn those things too,
yeah.
is you just put yourself out there. But yeah, okay. So you have 3 books out now, or is it
2
two?
books. I have a bunch, of other manuscripts written, ready to go. It's just, a matter of funding.
Right.
Mhm.
Money. It
Yeah.
always comes down to money. But clearly you enjoyed the process of writing the
Yes,
book
I
because you
do.
wrote a second one and you're
Yes.
writing more. Uh, but that's only part of it. So
Mhm.
you had to learn how to market yourself.
Yeah.
How did that go? What are some of the lessons that you learned with the first book that you were able to put into practice for the second one?
Have a pre-launch marketing plan. I did not for my first book.
Yeah.
The first time I don't know, I guess the reason I didn't even really market it was because I was afraid that it wasn't really going to happen. You know, you have
Yeah,
that little fear.
sure.
So I didn't like, I just kept it close to my heart and I didn't put it out there until I was sure. And so
Mhm.
I had my book covers. My illustrator gave me like 2 or 3 different options for my book cover, and that was the first time I even announced it, for my first book, and then for my second book, I was like, "Okay, I have to do a pre-launch strategy." Um, so I did, emails. I every time I go to shopping expo, I gather emails. So I did like a few email blasts, try to reach out to different social media influencers that are in the realm of toddler moms or teachers or preschool teachers and things like that, to have my story read on YouTube. um, so just trying to be a lot more out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and you have to, but those are some really smart things to do, and, the marketing game, especially for books, has changed so much over the last 10, 15 years.
Hmm.
Uh, there wasn't even, bookstagrams or,
Yeah.
TikToks, book talks, or anything like that. It was all very, like you said, very traditional, and you took out ads in the paper and you did, radio spots and things like that. And you have so much more at your disposal now. But I mean, you are the author, you are at the moment the editor, you're the marketing director, you're the manager, you're just this one woman cottage industry. Um, did you did you really understand that when you started the journey?
No, I think that a lot of authors have that misconception that you can just kind of be a little hermit. And in my real life, I'm very shy. I'm introverted. I don't put myself out there a lot, but you are you're forced to. And
Hmm.
I was able to overcome that barrier because I do love Linus so much. So that was my thing. But yeah, I think that's a huge misconception for new authors is that you just think you can write and that's it, and then your job is done. But there's so much more.
Right. And I think that authors have to go out there and sell themselves even more now than they did before, because of the fragmentation of the marketing and, um, you know, people like me. I love to meet authors, and that authors are my rock stars. So if I like a book, I'm gonna want to meet the author.
Hmm.
Uh, have you done any school visits? Have you gone to any classrooms?
Hmm. I've done quite a few school visits actually. I I think I did 6 in a 2-week period
Oh,
when my
wow.
first book or when my second book first came out, back in February of this year. It was like just in a really intense. And I visited some, daycares, pretty much anybody that'll have me, I'm happy to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love school visits because I feel like you just really feed off of the energy of the children. They're so
Yeah.
excited that you're
Yeah.
there, and so even for somebody as shy as me, it it's okay to put yourself out there because it feels comfortable because 'cause they're so excited.
Right. Well, and you're helping to instill a love of reading in these students. And I mean, it's the words that came out of your brain that are getting uh, kids reading. That's such a powerful thing. Do you ever stop and think about that?
Yeah, and children's literacy is so important because there's so many statistics to show the correlation between whether or not a child is able to graduate school and how well they can read. And so I really do think it's important, and I'm so happy and so grateful that I can be a part of that, and just try to really inspire. I hope I inspire some children.
Well, you have to. Again, your books are so well received. I know at least here in the Permian Basin, uh, you know, when I say Linus the Troll, people know who I'm talking about. So you've already got kind of a brand identity, and that's really good, too. Uh, but let's talk about outside of West Texas. Have you gotten a lot of response out of like the Permian Basin area?
So that is something I need to work on a little bit more. I did receive like a reader's it's called the Reader's Choice or Reader's Favorite Book Award for Linus. So that was really exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I was invited to the book festival in Miami because all of the award winners get to walk the little red carpet and then you receive your award. So Linus was a bronze winner for 2023.
Oh, how awesome.
I
Congratulations.
Thank you. I didn't actually go. There was a conflict in my schedule, but it was really just it felt so amazing to even just receive the award. It was
For future reference, I would happily accept the award for you in Miami. Uh, so you've done 2 Linus books, and you said you've got some other manuscripts.
Mhm.
Uh, are there further adventures of Linus out there in the world?
Um, so for the manuscripts that I have ready to go, not yet.
Okay.
There couple of other things. I'm actually working on my very first middle grade novel, and
Yeah.
I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
Um, I've had this idea for about 10 years, and I've just been too intimidated to go for it. And then
Mhm.
August is Mama Rimo, so kind of like the NaNoWriMo,
Yeah.
but just for moms. And it was something that my one of my Facebook groups did, and I thought, you know what? I saw all these other women that were talking about their journey, and I was like, I want to do that. Lila's story needs to be told. So, my middle grade fantasy novel is about a little princess that goes on a hero's quest to change her destiny, is how I would describe it. Um, I really love fairy tales. I guess I've never really outgrown fairy tales and folklore, so it's kind of like my take on a modern day fairy tale.
Well, that's wonderful, and I think, no one should ever outgrow fairy tales. There are some just in Grimm's fairy tales, there's so many life lessons
Oh,
that
yeah.
are pertinent when you're a child, but also pertinent when you are an adult. And you know, never lose that childlike wonder
Yeah.
for life and for stories. So I love that. I love that you're writing a middle grade novel. That's very exciting. I can't wait to read it. Uh, and everybody who has ever written a book started by not writing a book. So everybody had to write a first book, and you've actually already done that. So, even if the format and the age demographic is different, it's still basically you're writing a book, and you've
Mhm.
done that a couple of times now. All right, so I'm going to give you a confession because I grew up as uh, a voracious reader. My parents instilled a love of reading. Both my parents were big readers, and uh, you know, I worked in libraries. I worked in bookstores. I worked at the Hastings corporate office. Books and publishing were just my favorite thing in the world, and so uh, people have asked me if I am going to write a book, and my answer to that is no, because I see how much work it is, and I'm lazy. I want to have written a book. I don't want to actually write the book. I just want the finished product. I want to see my name on a book cover, but it just seems very daunting. So for me, I'm just again very proud of you, but very impressed with the discipline that it takes to get to the finish line for something that you've dreamed of doing since you were a little girl. So
Thank you.
that's wonderful. What advice would you give to someone who is considering writing a book, children or otherwise?
Um, I would say get very comfortable with public speaking because that's such a huge aspect of it.
Yeah.
So that's and just have at least a 6-month pre-launch marketing strategy. And as far as the writing, just do it. And if you do find yourself that you're like having a writer's block or anything like that, just keep going because um, sometimes you can't get from you're not really sure how to get from X to Z, but you can just write X and write Z, and then maybe as you're writing Z, the in between
You'll
part,
you'll fill in the
yeah, you'll
gaps.
fill in the
Yeah.
gaps because it'll be like, oh yeah, of course, this can't happen unless this happens. So just keep writing, write what you do know, and then fill in the gaps later.
Yep.
Don't lose your momentum.
Absolutely. You're 100% right with that. Do not lose the momentum. Uh, do you have some authors that influenced you and kind of shaped the way that you want to write?
Um, so I've always been a pretty voracious reader too. As a like I used to read Stephen King and Anne
Yeah.
Rice and all that, which is so funny because that's not the way I write. um, so uh, as far as children's authors, I would say Jay. He goes by Mr. J. He's one of my favorite children's authors because he's very successful as a self-published author.
hmm
Um, and he does mentor other authors, so I really think that's a really cool
That's
aspect
a
of it.
really nice thing. That's not always the case.
Yes, so I look up to him, and of course, there's James Dean who wrote the Pete the Cat series because it
Yeah.
was originally a self-published book. Who are some others? There's so many fantastic children's authors or just authors in general out there. It's hard to just narrow it down a little
Sure.
bit.
Sure. Yeah. So you talked about Pete the Cat. So if let's say Random House were to come to you and want to buy Linus the Troll to publish it through Random House, would you consider a traditional publishing route like that?
I make it the terms of would have to be right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I might consider it. I would really love to see Linus the Troll because there's this super cute Pete the Cat, Amazon Prime series my daughter loves.
Yeah.
It's so cute. I almost think it's better than the books.
Oh wow, okay. I've never heard anyone say anything is better than the book ever. So,
Yeah, I love it. I like watching it with my daughter. So, I would love to see Linus in a series like that. So, I mean, I don't think I would be able to do that by myself. So, I would be willing to discuss that aspect of it.
yeah, but also, the great thing that I think people still don't know about the Permian Basin is we have a lot of creatives around here. We have illustrators, we have writers, we have filmmakers, we have all kinds of people. And I think if that's something that you wanted to do, you could probably do it yourself. You've been so successful getting the books out there. If you wanted to make an animated series or something, I bet you could do that.
Maybe. And there's a Netflix show, Lucas the Spider, and it
Yes.
started off as just like this guy that made YouTube videos and then
Well,
got
see?
bought out by Netflix. Netflix, please call me.
Netflix, please call. Uh, I have a streaming chat show, you can also do that one. But, uh, also, I think Linus the Troll would be very adaptable to children's theater.
Oh, yeah, I
It,
could see that.
especially the first book, I could see that on stage, and another way to get schools involved to be able to do something like that. So, see, you've got your own little cottage industry here, but I get a cut because I'm the one that said it. Yeah,
2%.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Uh, well, Rosie, thank you so much for being here tonight. Again, I'm so proud of the work that you do.
Thank
Linus is a great book. Both of them are really good. And I'm so fortunate to know you. And I just want everybody else in the Permian Basin and out there in the great wide world to know about Linus the Troll. So thank you for being here on
you.
Art After Dark, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers.